quote probably wrong, but the great Bob Ross said there are no mistakes, there's only happy accidents. We are driving from Atlanta up to Luray Caverns in Virginia, and we were just going to stop off somewhere overnight, but we decided to actually get a campground in between, and that I found the Mayberry Campground in Mount Airy, North Carolina. And I didn't even think it, I mean, I thought Mayberry, but I didn't really think about it. And it turns out it's where they did the Andy Griffith Show. So we gotta go, we may extend, not by a day, but we may leave later tomorrow so we can spend more time checking out some of the places. So there are no mistakes. This was a happy accident.
The town of Mount Airy is Andy Griffith's hometown, and its quintessential small-town look and feel inspired the setting for the Andy Griffith Show. The town of about 11,000 people is located in North Carolina and is near a lot of attractions, from the Blue Ridge Parkway to the Yadkin Valley Wine Region. There is a lot to do and see in the area. Unfortunately, we only had one afternoon and a few hours the next morning to explore, so we drove into the town to see as much as possible. We quickly learned that many things are on business hours, so most places were soon to be closing. Luckily, we came across the Mayberry Squad Car Tours and learned that their 40 to 45 minute tours of the town in a police car would give us as much as we could see in the time that we had. They were booked out for the afternoon, but after talking with one of the drivers, he offered to come in early the next day and give us a tour before we had to leave. The next morning, we showed up at the tour company, which looks like a setting from the show, complete with Wally's service station, Mayberry Courthouse, high school, and of course, the Darlins' house. Our guide Mark showed up early as promised, and we got started on our moving history lesson of the town, Andy Griffith, and the setting of fictional Mayberry. Mark was a fantastic guide, and he added a lot of humor to the tour.
You know, we're under parade rules. You know what parade rules are. If somebody waves at you that you're in the car, you have to wave back at them. You can't moon them, you have to wave back at them.
One of the first things we learned about the town is that it was also known as the Granite City. The North Carolina Granite Company has been in business for over 130 years and operates the world's largest open-face granite quarry.
Here is where we get it from. This is the world's largest open-face granite quarry. This is open face, meaning the rock is laying out here on the hillside. They're not having to tunnel up or tunnel down to get to it.
The granite from the quarry was used to build numerous structures throughout the town, and we got to see many of them. There were multiple churches and amazing historical homes.
Over here, this is Mr. Merritt's house. Now, Mr. Merritt, among many other things he did in Mount Airy, he was a big business owner. He had a brickyard, so that's why his house is made of bricks. Now, we don't get to talk about him much because he trimmed it in granite. You know, he wanted to represent. But bricks is the deal. That's why it has a 3-story bay brick window right there. You don't really see something like that very often. He wanted you to see what bricks could do, you know. Now, across the street, Mr. Sargent, who owned the Granite Corporation at the time, had himself a little house built, and he won. He won. Look at the work they did on that, like the granite corbels that hold up the porch beams at the top right there, or the balustrade, the X's that hold up the handrails.
Yep.
Those X's weigh more than a person.
Huh.
And he's also a brilliant designer because, see, it looks like a little cottage, but as we get to the side of it, you'll notice that it really goes back quite a ways. It's a mansion, it just doesn't look like that from the street. The biggest granite house on the street belonged to Mr. Facette. He was a banker, so of course he had the fanciest, biggest. They've got what some of us call a castle cut on his blocks. See how they're chiseled back on the sides to make them stand out a little more?
And a massive post office and more churches.
This is a copy of a chapel in Exeter, England. Almost stone for stone copy.
Huh.
Seats about 75 people.
The buildings we saw throughout the tour reflected the nickname of Granite City. Mark kept the tour fun. There's nothing like cruising down the street in an old cop car with the siren blaring.
So let's get out of here and let me see. I think I can blow the siren now because get up past the house. You gotta be going fast when you blow the siren.
also learned a bit about the history of the buildings on Main Street, some of it a bit funny.
In North Carolina, you get a tax credit for having a historic structure and backdating it to its original appearance, and so we put that pretty good use here. Most of downtown comes from the late 1890s or mid 1890s anyway. These are not recreations. These are the way the buildings pretty much look since then. This used to be the Bluebird. The Bluebird, you know, the Bluebird Diner they talk about on the TV show. It really wasn't a diner. It's a kind of inside joke with Andy Griffith himself alone, because nobody else, you know, on the show was from here. They wouldn't have known it. But the Bluebird was actually a terrible beer joint. And you could get yourself thrown through the plate glass window there any time of the day or night, you know.
Wow.
So when they needed a cute, innocent little sounding place for Thelma Lou to work on the show, well, the Bluebird. And they kind of changed the atmosphere of it, so to speak.
Then we got to see the famous statue of Andy and Opie walking down to the fishing hole. It was a great photo op. The last stop on the tour was at Andy's childhood home, which reflected his modest upbringing.
This is Andy's house. It's the only place he ever actually lived while in Mount Airy, the only home he had here. He didn't stay here but through high school, and then he went off to college, and he came back to visit occasionally, but he never lived in Mount Airy after that.
So, who owns it now?
The Hampton Inn.
Really?
Yes, they rent it as an off-site property.
Yes, you can stay in Andy's home. Our sightseeing ended back where we began, at Wally's service station. It was a fantastic tour, and Mark was an excellent guide. There is a lot to see in Mount Airy, and the tour gives you a great overview. If you are passing through and only have a few hours, we highly recommend it. If you have a few days, take the tour and then spend some time exploring the town firsthand. For us, it was time to get back on the road and on to our next adventure, this time outside Luray, Virginia.
Thank you for watching. We'd love to share our journey with you, so hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell so you know when a new video is uploaded. And don't forget to leave your comments down below and hit the like button.